Hi guys, it's Kelly here and I am back with another video. Today's video is featuring the August My Monthly Hero kit. This is the stamps and dies you get with the classic kit. These flowers and dies as well as some rub-ons are included in the premium. That adorable stencil. Oh my gosh, you guys, I love that stencil so much. And then the these little golden poppies as well as the color layering stencils that go with it are add-ons. So they're available all the time. Kits, limited time. Once they sell out, they sell out. So how did we get here? Well, it's that stencil. It's the stencil. The stencil got us here. I really wanted to do some white on white texture. And I thought, well, how could I do that multiple ways? And so here we are. First things first, I am doing my paste first. This is the white pearl paste from Hero Arts. I'm going to be using that for my rocks layer. This is the layer of texture for the mountains. So I just took some unicorn pigment ink. I swiped it on, but honestly, if I had to do it again, I would probably pounce it like I was inking up a stamp. And then I sprinkled on some white puff embossing powder. I've been loving my puff my puffs lately because it's just such a fun texture. So I wanted it to be kind of haphazard. I didn't want it to be a full coating so that it would act as like snow on top of my mountain. But because I just swiped it, it dried pretty fast and I couldn't get as much powder to stick as I wanted. So what I did was I just dumped some on there, shook it around until I was happy with how it looked. And now I'm going to heat it from behind. This will keep the embossing powder from flying all over. It will still melt. And then once I have it partially melted from the back and I know it's not going to fly all over my work surface, I can then heat it from the front so that I get that nice puffed up texture that I'm going for to create the snow on my mountaintops, which I think is just fun. It's just fun. Yeah. And then for the third texture, I'm going to use glitter paper. I also did just want to leave this in here because I wanted to die cut my paste and I put it on a little bit thicker. I wanted it to dry. So I did heat it slightly with my heat tool. I didn't have any issues with it bubbling or anything, but I kept my heat gun a good distance away and I moved it constantly. So now I am putting my dies in place. Again, these are part of the classic kit. You also get them if you get the premium kit. And then there's no bottom to them. So you can make them as tall as you would like. I did the white puff embossing powder with the mountaintops. For the rocks, I am doing the pearl paste. And then if you don't have glitter paper, I'm using the Hero Arts glitter paper. But if you don't have glitter paper, you could also use Hero Arts as a glitter paste, which I love and highly recommend. But I had the paper, so why do the paste, right? And then the other one is there's a little grass, like a little field one that's in here as well. And so I cut that out. We are going to be doing some ink blending on that. So here was, I really wanted to do the white on white texture with the stencil. And so I was like, how else can I do the white on white texture differently? And that is what led us to this more whimsical kind of scene is, the different ways that you can get, you don't have to do all of these. I did all of them because I have that many layers. But you don't have to. You could just pick one here or there to add some more texture to your cards or to your scenes. But I thought that this was a really great way to use all of that beautiful landscape, but still keep it pretty clean, which is a look that I love. Like I love bright colors in a clean layout. So my pop of color is going to be my grass and my flowers. So that's what you see me doing here. This is the grass portion that we cut out. I chose kiwi, fresh lawn, and pine to do my ink blending. Here in a second, I am going to speed this up just a little bit, because you guys have seen me ink blend 100 times, but I'm using the brushes. I just wanted to show you, I do a once over with the lightest color, and then I wanted the darkest portion to be in the front. So that is why I'm adding the majority of the shading there. And then I'll do it again with the pine, and then I do mine twice. That's just how I roll. So this video was supposed to go up yesterday, but my life was like, we don't care about your plans. You will not get anything done in a timely fashion. So I didn't. Little Jelly Bean got up the night before And so I was up from 1 to 4. So I was having a real hard time getting my tushy out of bed in the morning, which means it cut into my work day. But I forgive myself because 4:30 in the morning is a hard time to go to bed. And then plus, you know, once you're up for that long, it's hard to fall right back asleep. I really, truly don't think I fell back asleep until almost 5. So here, these flowers are included in the premium kit. So I am stamping these out. If you love these flowers but don't want to purchase the kit, they have the same flowers in a full background with the coordinating stencil, and that's what I'm using for card number 2. But these are great. Totally love these. I think they're super fun. They're poppies, but they honestly reminded me of like little buttercups. And that's how I chose the color scheme, was to go with just a yellow and green with a super clean white background. And I love the way it came out. It's very fun and whimsical. I showed you 4 greens, but I actually ended up using 3. I used the YG03, 17, and 67. If you wanted your greens to be just a little bit lighter, you could do the YG01, 03, and 17 as your darkest color. So yeah, so Jelly Bean didn't care whether or not I got any sleep. And honestly, like, she wasn't even like sick or sad or anything. She was just awake. So I don't know if we're heading into a growth spurt or a sleep regression or something of the like, or maybe it was just a one-off. I can't complain too much because she's been really, really good lately. So it's hard to give her too hard of a time about it. For the florals, I am going in and I am adding my shadows first. You can see the way that it's drawn. There's a couple of little lines to indicate the flowers being folded over. So I just added a little bit of shadow there. I add shadows closest to the center where the flower is blooming out from the stamen. And then I also add showers. I add shadows anytime one petal is tucked behind another. So I went ahead and did all the rest of the coloring, and now I'm cutting them out with their coordinating dies. I am going to use, I think, all of the flowers. Yeah, and then there's one little like extra leaf. I think I'm going to use all of them. But because of the differences in size, when you're doing a scene card, you want to be paying attention to your perspective, and that just means that anything that is larger is going to be closer to you, anything that is smaller is going to be further away. So you can see I have positioned my very large flowers right up front. They're hanging off the bottom of my card. And that is done intentionally because they are so large and just like right in your face. Whereas the smaller flowers are kind of tucked behind the larger ones because they would look as if they're further away. So normally I do my cards kind of at the same time. But because I was backed up, I needed my card, this card, to be done for the blog hop. So I did this one in its entirety, filmed it, took my photos, typed my blog post, and then I came back and did the second one, the second card. So that's why this one looks a little, it's not out of order. I mean, we're completing one whole card first. It's just a different order than I normally do my videos, and that's the reason why. So the blog hop is still open. They're doing, Hero Arts is doing a giveaway, and I think that's open through this coming Saturday, I think. All the details are over my blog. I will link it below if you'd like to see. And of course, hop along for more chances to win. So now that that's done, I'm going to go in and I'm going to trim off that excess that's hanging over the bottom of my card. And you may notice in the what are we calling it? In the landscape, that some of the whites are warmer and some of the whites are cooler. That's totally okay. Don't be worried about mixing them because it just adds more interest. If it was something that you were like, no, I want them to all be that same, like a little bit warmer white, then I would recommend using the same cardstock and using a glitter paste that's transparent instead of using a glitter paper that maybe has its own white tone. So yeah, I adhered everything down flat. You could definitely pop these up, but I had so many layers. I was like, oh my goodness, this would be way too much dimension if I tried to do them all separately. And then I think maybe if I did it again, like if I use the scene again, I might put the rocks in front of the trees. I think that would be kind of a fun look, so that you had the mountains, the trees, and then some rocks and the grasses. You could totally play around with this, and you don't even need to use all 4 layers in one card like I did. You could definitely pick and choose which layers you wanted to use. So what else happened? While I was on vacation, well, before I went on vacation, I told you guys I went and got my nails done. That's the same nails you see here. And I got gel, which I never get. I never get a gel polish because I just change my nail polish so often. And I don't like that they use the little Dremel, which destroys my nails. Back to the card. Here, I'm going in and I'm coloring in that white outline because you guys know I'm just not a big fan. So I'm going to color that white outline with my markers so that they are all matchy-matchy and blend in nice. And then we're going to stamp and heat emboss our sentiment. So I went and got my nails done and I got a pedicure. I got gel nails, so I didn't have to worry about my nails while I was on vacation. That is one thing I will say for gel. Since they do last weeks, you don't really have to worry about any chipping or anything like that. However, the worst part about gel nails is taking them off because you have to soak them. So back in the day, like when gel nail polish first came out, they would tell you, you know, just put on some cotton balls with acetone, soak them in with tinfoil wrapped around your fingers, and then scrape it off. That's pretty much what all of us have been doing to remove gel polish for a long time. This time around, she told me to use a file to break the top coat. So that it could get in and penetrate it, and then it wouldn't take as long. And she was right. That did work. So if you're removing gel polish, make sure you're filing that top coat so that way it goes much faster. But here is the problem. I filed off my top coat, but on 2 of my fingers, I got a little overzealous, I guess, with my filing, and I tore up my cuticles on 2 of my fingers. And then I proceeded to wrap them in acetone, and it burned like all the fires. Oh my gosh. I lasted 5 minutes, and that was with me blowing on it. Like, you know how your granny used to put Mercurochrome on your boo-boos and then she'd blow on it because it would just burn like nothing you ever felt before? That's exactly how I blew on it, just like my grandmother used to do. Here, so this is the second card. This is the start of it all. This is the Graphic Mountain stencil, and it reminded me of those like mixed media artists where they do like they spread the grout or whatever it is all over the canvas, and then they use the scrapers to make like rainbows and different textures throughout it, and then you hang it on your wall and it's beautiful. That's exactly what this reminded me of. So I was like, I'm doing white on white for this 110%. And I love it. I totally love it. In fact, you could probably just leave the white on white and just put a sentiment on it, and it would be a super cool card because it already has a ton of texture and dimension. But I did try going in with my liquid watercolors from Hero Arts, and you can color them that way. You can either paint them on or drop them on. It does color after it is dry. I didn't like the way that the piece came out, so I didn't keep it to show it to you, but it does work. Just an FYI there. So I'm going to remove my stencil. This thing looks so cool in real life. I know it's just white on white, but it looks wicked awesome. So I'm going to set that aside to dry, and then I am going to stamp my background. So I got my little sticky mat here. I have an A2 size card front, and then I'm going to stamp these poppies. Now, these poppies are all one piece. They are clearly drawn in the same vein as the other, like the first poppies that are all singles, but this one is a full background. And I'm going to heat emboss it in gold, and then I'm going to use the stencils to color them in the same color scheme because you know I like to be matchy-matchy. So yeah, so my fingers were on fire. I lasted all of about 5 minutes before I had to take it off and hope that it worked. And it did, thankfully. So I've moved on from my gel polish back to regular nail polish now because they were getting so long. Like, I don't know if anybody else has that problem, but if my nails get too long, I start to feel like I cannot function. I just don't like long nails. And in fact, years ago, when I used to get acrylics, the nail techs used to kind of give me a hard, like lovingly kind of give me a hard time because I liked thick nails because they didn't break, and I liked them short because I typed for a living. But not, I mean, in dispatch, I worked with some girls who had like them real long stiletto nails and they were still typing. I don't know how they were doing it. Much more talented than me. I like my nails to be pretty, don't get me wrong. But I don't want them so long that they are messing with my functionality. Like, they just start to bother me. So yesterday, I knew that they needed to go. I was having a hard time even picking up things like off my desk. But because I was on the time crunch, I didn't have time to take them off. So I had to wait and do it after, bedtime so that I could just concentrate on what I was doing. And I did have to tinfoil them. Now, we have family photos coming up this weekend. That's actually my mom's Mother's Day gift, was to do full family photos. So we have them coming up this weekend. And I considered going back and getting another like French manicure, because I think that it will look nice with the colors that we've chose. But I was like, I don't want another French manicure for like another 3 weeks, because that's how long I had them on. I got them done the Tuesday before we went on vacation, and then I just took them off last night. So it was just like 3 hours shy of a full 3 weeks, and they did last. Don't get me wrong, I just don't love them. So for the flowers, I did Butter Bar, Spicy Mustard, and Fresh Lawn. I didn't try to do anything fancy with the coloring. I just kept it super simple, and I love that has like the golden outline that adds just a little bit of something extra. Now, I did do them in black with a black outline as well, and I'll show you that at the end of this portion of the video, just so you can see the difference, because I wasn't sure how I wanted to do it, but ultimately I really, really liked the gold embossing. I don't know, that metallic embossing just adds something a little extra special. So anywho, we are going for family photos, which will be nice because it's all the grandkids, my sisters, obviously our kids, like, will all be there to be able to take photos, and we're doing them at the cultural gardens, so they'll be nice outside photos. Here's hoping we have good weather and my hair does not floof up into an alpaca, because my hair is naturally curly. I might have to just, watch the weather and embrace my natural curl if that is the case. But so we're trying to color coordinate all of our outfits, which is why I was thinking of, a French manicure would be a nice neutral. So here is that black one that I did, so you can see the difference. To be honest, this one is a little bit more dark than it would traditionally be, because I didn't take the time to make sure my ink was completely dry, and I'm 100% positive when I was ink blending I picked up some of that black. For the sentiment, I chose this one. There's a happy birthday sentiment in it, but then there's this one that says stay golden. Now, if you are a child of the 80s, as I was, you know that this is from The Outsiders. He actually says stay gold, pony boy, not stay golden. But if you are a person who was either born before or after that, or you don't know what that means, basically it just, like, if you're golden, it means like you're good, you're great, you're doing fantastic. So that is what that phrase means. And I just heat embossed it using the same gold that I used for the flowers. And then I'm going to trim these into labels as well. For the flowers. Now you may be asking, Kelly, you had this white on white background that was the catalyst for both of these cards, and now you have this full floral background. How are you going to make this work? I'm going to make it work by fussy cutting. That's just, being honest. If you got the premium kit, you could definitely use the singles to make the same kind of card. But if you didn't and you just have this one, I'm just going to go in and I'm going to cut out 2 sections. I'm not going to cut out the whole thing, but I am going to cut out just 2 sections of florals that I really liked. And once I have it narrowed down to what I'm going to cut out, I will cut them into smaller pieces to make it easier to trim out. But basically, I was just looking for a couple of flowers and a few leaves. And then that way I can arrange them behind my sentiment. And so you'll see the majority of the white on white texture, which we've created, but you will still have a accessory to your sentiment. Like, it'll still create a nice focal point. So that is what I am doing here, just going in and trimming those out. This did not take me that long. I know you think that it would, but it really didn't. And if there was a part that looked like it was going to take too long to trim out, I just cut it off. Like, I'm just being real. Like, I wasn't going to spend a ton of time. And you can see in between, the spots in between that are white, I just left those. I just cut out the very outside edges because I have a white on white background. That white in the middle of the flowers really doesn't matter. Here, once my paste dried, it did curl up my paper just a little bit. So in order to get it flat, you could certainly, put it under a book or something like that. But I chose to use just some ultra sticky tape, and I'm putting that around all of the edges of the card base. So that way, I know the edges are secured and they're going to be flat. And then from there, I'll be able to kind of move it, wiggle it, bend it to get it to lay completely flat. Now, because this is super sticky, I am going to use my Hero Arts liquid glue to give myself a little bit of wiggle room. When I say this stuff is sticky, I totally mean it, because here I am, very hard. It's very difficult for me to peel this stuff off with my very long fingernails. But once I get it peeled off, I accidentally dropped this piece on there and it already, like, it ripped the paper just a little bit. But it is sticky. It means business. So once you put it down, you're not getting it back up. That's why I use the liquid glue, because I cannot be that decisive. I need to have the option to pick it up if I need to. So I'm just going to line it up in one corner and then along the bottom, like completely line it up along the bottom. And then I will pick one side to line it up with. And then I'll just smooth the whole thing out so that it's nice and flat. Look at all that texture. Isn't it beautiful? And it really does look like one of those like artist things, like artist canvases where they just move the little, what are they? I don't even know what you call them. What do you call them? The spatulas. They're like little ridged spatulas. They're cool, man. If you haven't seen one, look it up. So here I have everything laid out the way I want. I am going to glue my sentiments to my flowers, and then I'm going to pick it all up as one piece, and then I will glue the whole thing down. Thank goodness for tweezers. I cannot believe I was a person who was like, I don't need no stinking tweezers. Now I can't make a card without the tweezers. It makes it so much easier. It really, really does. So yeah, so now I'm putting the glue on the back of the flowers, and I'm just going to glue these down flat as well. You do want to give it a minute or so to dry. I ended up putting my Misty on top of it for just a little bit to make sure that it stayed down long enough for the glue to dry and adhere. Don't worry, I'm going to straighten this out in a minute. It was really crooked. It was really, really crooked. But sometimes I have to hold it up so that I can see what straight should be, and then I'm good. And then I'll just go ahead and I know a lot of people use a weight. I'm just using my Misty. So for this, to finish it off, Hero Arts has these metallics, love them, and there's one that's gold and silver, so I'm using the gold. I'm just going to put out a little bit. I didn't add any other liquid to it. I'm going to pick it up with a paintbrush, and I'm going to just spatter it onto my flowers, but also to my white background. And this is like the elegant version of white on white. The first card we did was whimsical. This is like the elegant version. And I love them both. I hope that you do too. Thank you guys so much for joining me. I always appreciate your time, and I will catch you on the next video. Bye.